I watched a documentary about it's called Salsa Latin Pop from the Cities, and there Felipe Luciano, the leader of Young Lords Party, talked about the situation of his people, that the New York Latino people are unaware of their own worth, and that they try to be more whiteness and stuff. Do you think this situation has changed in the last 30 years?
You know, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, we in the Latin community here in the United States, and I think even in the world, we're missing that Latin leader. You know, that one leader that can open the eyes of a lot of the youth. We try to do our part, you know, as small as it is, you know, with writing about social issues and writing about things like that. People that listen to salsa, you know, a lot of people that like it listen to that salsa monga and things like that. So what we want to do is we want to make good music that everybody will like, but then have a message to it. So to open the eyes. I mean, if I walk away today, for example, at this festival, and one person like you last time when we played last year walks away and going, wow, they spoke to me. That, you know, I identify with them. And if one person walks away and goes to look up immigrant issues after listening to American Sueño, I've done my job. You know, that's the goal of this band, is to not lecture, but to open people's eyes, people's ears about different issues. Like I said, we're not political. I like to call us socially aware. We like to conscious, exactly.
In the same documentary, Rubén Blades talked about the importance of salsa music, and he called it kind of folklore of the cities, kind of Latin urban folklore of every city in Latin America, but especially in New York, it's kind of a special signification because it's a huge immigrant community from Puerto Ricanos, Cubanos, Dominicanos, and it's kind of recreating the folklore of the Caribbean in an urban setting. Do you agree with that, or what do you think about that?
I think that the immigrants now in New York have changed a little more than it used to be. At one point in time, we used to have what was a majority of Puerto Ricans and Cubans. Now slowly it's coming into Colombians, Mexicans, Peruvians. It's starting to go more South American. And I think like Excelencia picks that up, especially with Julian being the arranger for our band. We now bring into that salsa dura that has always been in New York a South American feel. You know, with the mix, of course, of Puerto Rico and Cuba, and we add the Dominican Republic, who's the new immigrants also in New York. So I think we grasp that in our band, the new form of immigrants that are in New York City.
Yeah, and I believe, I mean, like you said, when you talk about folkloric music, as far as New York, as far as I'm concerned, salsa is the folkloric music of New York. You know, and it's the true music when you're looking back at in the 70s when salsa started with, you know, everybody from La Fania, everybody. You know, that's what we try. That's our idols. Those are people that we look up to. You know, I mean, just last week in New York, we performed on Thursday with Eddie Palmieri in New York, which is a dream. I mean, it was amazing to see him. 2 days later, we performed in the Bronx with El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico. I mean, and then we leave for Europe. You know, and those two shows before coming here to Europe serve as an inspiration to us. You know, when we see them, and I see Palmieri on his piano, and I just look at him and I think, wow, the memories he must have, the experiences that he must have from the beginning, to know that he was there in the beginning, inspires all of us to just give our 110% when we're on stage. So, yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
I can imagine that. I'm just listening to his music inspires me every day. It's great. I listen a lot to music from persons like Frankie Dante and of course Rubén Blades, Willie Colon, people like that, and they're talking about their situation, and that's what you're bringing back right now, this consciousness and what got lost in the commercialization of Fania and all the salsa monga stuff you taught. You have some central concerns you talked about getting more South American, getting more migrational issues into the salsa thing. Do you have some central concerns, some like your main theme or something you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, the truth is, at least for me, my main theme, my main concern is just humanity, unity, equality. You know, equality, I think, is the major issue. I mean, growing up Latino in the United States is difficult. You know, even in New York, you know, where you're surrounded by millions of them. You know, you always you have a sense of the inequalities that there are in the world. And with American Sueño, just in particular, that came to me because of all the immigration issues that we've had. Unidad, for example, within in the Latin community itself, there's a lot of discrimination depending on what country you're from, or even what color skin you are. You know, even in the Latin American countries. That's why the song Unidad was written, because I think, you know, if we want to move up as Latinos, as you know, we need to work together, you know, to try to make that first step. So
your attitude seems pretty hip hop influenced, like your dress and stuff. And actually, I heard and I've seen videos on YouTube. You're playing Wabanco in the Bronx, and I listened that you're from the Bronx. It's kind of birthplace of hip hop too. And for me, salsa is also kind of coming up from the Bronx. Everybody's talking Spanish, but I think it's more from what I've read. Now I'm not from New York, so I just
South Bronx.
Yeah, South Bronx. Yeah, South Bronx.
The real deal salsa is from the Bronx.
Yeah.
El condado de la salsa.
That's what it's known as.
El condado de la salsa.
Yeah. The Bronx is known as El condado de la salsa. When we do those rumbas, when we're doing the rumbas in the streets in the Bronx, what we're trying to do is also bring back the unity of our neighborhood, all getting together, and then also the culture. We're trying to maintain the culture in the young. One thing that wasn't filmed in that YouTube video was the fact that we got all the children from the block, and we put the children to play. And every time they would come up and they were amazed to see the congas or to see, you know, the claves, whatever, we told them, no, you play. And Edwin came, Gilberto came, they sung, they brought children with them, you know, and they see that. And that's what we want to do. We know that salsa went to a curve, you know, it went monga for a while. Like Excelencia has somehow been able to bring that back, right? And we think that it's our mission also to educate the children and let them know you can do this too. And you are the future. You should do this. You know, we can't be influenced by other music that isn't our music and just put ours to rest and say salsa's dead.
Well, another thing, I mean, you mentioned the influence of like hip hop, for example. The thing with hip hop, and I think the reason it's so big right now is because it's giving the youth an out. It's giving them the message that the youth wants to hear. I think with our music, that's what we're trying to do as well. One thing that happened in the late 80s is people started categorizing salsa in a higher socioeconomic level. Like you go to a nightclub and it costs you $25 to get in, and you have to go dress in a suit and blah blah blah. And so it cut off a lot of people that can't afford to go to a nightclub and pay $25 to go see a musician. Can't afford a suit. Can't afford this thing. So when we do these rumbas in the street, it's also for people that aren't able to come to the Copacabana in New York to come see us, or to pay, you know, tons of money to come, or to, you know, to get dressed and go out because, you know, they have health problems. They're, you know, they can't. They're working all day, or, you know, those things. So what we try to do a lot of charitable events as well in New York, fundraisers for education of children, for just different issues that are happening within the neighborhoods. Yeah, with this, children. Yeah, so with HIV and AIDS, we do those for free. Because not because we want people to think that, oh wow, you guys are doing things for free, but just for the fact that, you know, we want to help, and whatever we can do to help anybody in our society, in our neighborhoods, that's where it starts, the neighborhoods, and it goes out to the rest of the communities. We do everything we can. So.